Hello and welcome to my presentation today on enhanced primary care. What does EPC mean to Ryalls Park Medical Centre? So firstly, a quick introduction to myself. I am Daniel Vincent. I am the practice manager at Ryalls Park Medical Centre. I've been a practice manager now for a little over 7 years. Started off my career at an NHS Darcy centre, then moved to a rural dispensing practice, and most recently moved to Ryalls Park Medical Centre as managing partner. So I think it's fair to say that EPC to us was a whole shift in the practice mindset. So we met together to establish what our vision was for Ryalls Park Medical Centre, and we defined that we wanted to provide sustainable, high quality healthcare. Now, the high quality healthcare part is the easy bit. The sustainable is the challenge, and we felt that the only way we would be able to achieve this would be by partnering with our patients to help support them to optimize their health and well-being, again, considering the constraints of the current climate. So what are the components of EPC? So today I'm going to talk about our huddles, our 5 questions, our health coaches, our MSK practitioner, and then what we feel our next steps are. So our huddles happen twice per day. The first is at 8:15 in the morning, where the whole team get together, anyone who's in at that time, and we have a look at the day. So how does the day look? Who's in that day and who's not in? How many appointments we have available or not? And any reason that today could be different to any other. Once we've considered all of those factors, together as a team we come up with a plan, and then it doesn't matter which receptionist, which member of the admin team the patients speak to when they call in the morning, they are all going to get equitable access to the appointments that we have available. And at 11 o'clock we have our patient-focused huddle, where we look at all of our out-of-hours encounters and 111 calls, our ED attendances, hospital discharges and admissions. And what we're doing there is we're seeking a complete episode of care. So we want to make sure that if the out-of-hours service advised a patient to attend ED, that they do end up attending. And we're also completing a safeguarding check for each of the patients that we look at. So looking at whether they are a vulnerable child or a vulnerable adult. We have a huddle spreadsheet which we use to look at the patients again. So we might look at an ED attendance and not have the attendance paperwork available. So what we'll often do is say, right, we'll look at that patient in a week. We know that most patients will contact us if they need something sooner, but having a look in a week's time does give us an opportunity to review that complete episode of care. We'll also look at our home visits, see who needs to be seen and who would be best to see them. We then go around everybody who attends the huddle and ask if anyone has anyone they would like to discuss. So we start with our health coaches, who are able to raise any patients that they have any clinical concerns about, which acts as their clinical supervision. We talk about new cancer diagnoses and literally anyone in the practice is worried or concerned about. Our huddles also act as our MDT meetings, so we're able to discharge fairly simple, significant events. And we also invite the palliative care team, district nurses, health visitors to attend the meetings to discuss the patients on their caseload. So what are our 5 questions? So I believe that our 5 questions are key to making sure that enhanced primary care works well for us. So the really important thing is to make sure that the patients see the right person at the right time in the right place, and our reception team are key to making sure this happens. So these are the 5 questions that the team ask each and every patient who calls in. So what's the problem that you're facing today? How long has this been going on for? What steps have you already taken? Has anybody else asked you to call? And what has prompted you to call today? With this information available to the team, they really are able to actively signpost the patient to other services where this is best for the patient. And if not, they're able to make sure that they see the most appropriate person in the practice at the right time. So our health coaches is a new role to us and to all of the practices in the South Somerset area. And the key to the role is coaching, and we believe that this is the thing that's going to save the NHS. So coaching is about activating patients to self-care, which will then allow them to optimise their own health and well-being. Our coaches give patients time and space to think and then create a plan, and they help our patients to discover what's important to them. And what we know is that when people choose something that's important to them, they are much more likely to carry on through and complete the goal that they set. So the health coaches will help our patients to create goals that are going to help move them forward and then come up with a time-bound plan. What we sometimes find is that patients need a counsellor to explore things that have happened in the past before they're able to move forward, and that's a key distinction between counselling and health coaching. The health coaches are there to help people continually move forward step by step. If they need to explore something in the past, then they do need to see a counsellor. So it's fair to say that we got it really wrong the first time round. So our health coaches started working with patients who had 2 or more long-term conditions, often were housebound, and what we found was actually those patients didn't have the resources available to them to help them move forward. They really did need a lot of clinical input, a lot of medical input, and really the amount of time and the skill that the health coaches were able to offer them wasn't going to be able to move them forward. So what we did was we started actually working with a different group of patients that have freed up the GPs to work with those patients. So some examples of the patients we're working with are lifestyle change, so working with our newly diagnosed diabetics to help them discover what's important for them and set realistic time-bound goals. And we've actually this week had our first reversal of type 2 diabetes. They're also working with our low-grade mental health patients. So those patients who you hear their story and you think, actually, there's very good reason that you feel the way you do. And we've coined it rubbish life syndrome. And what the health coaches are able to do is help those patients just think through their problems, come up with a plan, and that often will help resolve the low mood or depression that the patient's experiencing because they have a plan. They're able to move forward. We've also asked our health coaches to start working with all of our Med 3 patients. So obviously if a patient needs their first Med 3, they need to see the doctor. After their first Med 3, we ask that patients come in and spend some time with our health coaches. Our patients are finding this extremely beneficial, having someone who can focus on their desire to return to work and help them put a plan in place to make this happen. We were initially thinking, somebody has an operation, the surgeon signs them off for 2 weeks, but they're not quite ready to go back to work. Oh, they should just get another fit note from the doctor. But actually what we found is by those patients coming and seeing the health coach, talking to them about the barriers that are stopping them returning to work, they're actually able to take some action to move themselves towards getting to work. So maybe it's going back to the surgeon, maybe it's speaking to a physiotherapist. All of these things can really help make the patient's journey back to work much better and much quicker. So whenever a health coach is asked to do a task, they will always ask themselves, what value do I bring to this as a coach? We all know that primary care is incredibly busy and there's always too much work to be done, and it's very tempting to use this new role to plug gaps in the practice, but that's not what it's about. We are working on helping to free up time in 2 or 3 or 5 or even 10 years' time by helping our population to manage their own health and well-being conditions as well as they possibly can. We built in some service development time into our health coaching role to make sure that where we were finding unmet needs, we were able to develop services with partners to help support our patients. So some of the things that we've been working on is we've set up a walk and talk service, which is a 45-minute walk around the park next to the practice. We've asked the Citizens Advice Bureau to come in and provide a surgery in the surgery. They will see patients, talk to them about the benefits that they're eligible for, help them develop a debt management plan if that's a problem for them. Our health coaches have also attended the Flexercise training, so they're able to offer seated exercise in our waiting room on a Tuesday lunchtime. Our health coaches have worked with our local healthy eating team and have set up a cooking and healthy eating class that our patients are able to attend. We've worked with a local performing arts company to commission a 10-week programme to help support our patients who perhaps struggle with their confidence or ability to express themselves, and that programme's called Wordplay. So I think our patients are best able to explain what wordplay is all about.
My husband said, "What's poetry got to do with your being ill?" And I said, "Surprisingly a lot, actually. Poetry brings out my voice, instead of keeping it all inside. The manic, the anxiety, the fear. Like a flashing light in a blank room. Poetry keeps my light on."
Here you are allowed to be you. We see you, we hear you, we want you to speak, and we will listen. That is our choice, to give you the space to find your voice.
I think finding a way of expressing yourself through creativity can really shift things and help you emotionally. And especially with projects like Wordplay, which are about voicing what's happening inside your head and having that validated, is incredibly important for people. Wow.
I thought poems were frightening, too deep for me. At school they told me I was no good at them.
But here, in this circle, the poetry belongs to everyone. It's our bouncy castle, shared adventure, multicoloured map of the world.
Fairy lights twinkle from the bookshelves and bunting flutters in the windows. There is magic here.
A kettle in the corner, biscuits if we're lucky.
And we lean on encyclopedias and medical journals, their clinical descriptions faintly visible under our fingers.
This is the highlight of my week. Together, in a circle, chatting, writing. Someone is always late, in the space where vowels can be flat and verbs flattering.
And it's okay to think big, but you really don't have to. Sometimes it's easier to reply than to initiate. Sometimes we catch ourselves laughing and it just feels natural.
The breadcrumb trail through the dark, dark wood that gives us a voice to be heard, understood.
Amidst the real people who sit here, their light too bright to ignore. Characters written in biro laid out on the floor.
The opening of a portal where emotions can go where they've never been. It's the power of having your heart seen.
Where speakers need listeners, lookers need something to see. It's the unstranging of strangers that gave me back to me.
Wrapped up in the rhymes and rhythms of this thing poetry.
It's fair to say that Wordplay has genuinely transformed the lives of the 3 participants. So our MSK practitioner is available for direct booking by our reception team after they found out that the patient has either muscular or joint pain not caused by trauma. We have 2 sessions per week, currently working with a 7-day wait. The appointments are 30 minutes long to allow the MSK practitioner to have a good amount of time to do a full assessment and then to action any plans that he and the patient come up with together. The MSK practitioner is able to directly refer for imaging, And we believe that this, combined with health coaching, has allowed us to move to 15-minute routine appointments for our GPs in the morning and to accommodate our huddles. So the next steps for Ryalls Park Medical Centre are to have a look at our medicines management, including a pharmacist to support us, integrating our currently separate complex care team into the practice, document management, asking a nurse practitioner to join our team, and looking at comorbidity reviews. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this presentation today. We're really interested to hear from anybody who is able to help us with our next steps, or indeed if we can help you with your next steps, then please do drop me an email or contact me on Twitter.